Welcome into the Flagship on this January 29th, 2024. Man, feels like it's been a while. Feels like things have happened since the last time.
What have you been up to?
Oh,
Haven't heard from you as much.
Just took a Buick up the cornhole at about 60 miles an hour, but we're good. I still got a little bit of a shiner, you know.
Your bruise, like your story's way cooler than the last time I had a black eye, which was like 3 weeks before college graduation, and having to tell the story of how I got it to people, and they were just immediately like, "No, you got in a fight or something."
Yeah.
Like, I ran it face to face, ran into a guy playing flag football in intramurals, and yeah, had that for graduation.
Well, mine wasn't particularly cool. For those that don't know, I've been out of commission. Out of commission.
That's a bad word for it.
Since Wednesday night. I actually had left my house to go. Our garbage had kind of backed up, and I was like, man, we look like, cousin Eddie's family just rolled up in here, just not taking care. So I was like, I'm gonna go throw some garbage away. Rolled over to Oaks Country Club, which is right across the street here in New Albany. Threw away some stuff. Oh man, the Jeep, my buddy Jeep, it needs some gas. I'm at 30 miles to empty, and y'all got to understand something about this Jeep now.
30 miles. That's plenty of time, baby.
I know, but see, I was trying to be responsible. I was like trying to get out in front of it. And this Jeep, man, I bought it from a friend of mine who's no longer with us, Bradley Bryant. And there's a story behind it. And we'd been through some stuff, man. I love this Jeep. It's what I'd always wanted, a Jeep Wrangler, man, ever since I was in high school. And my mom and dad refused to give me one because they said I was a terrible driver, which is 100% true back then. Like, I had no business being behind the wheel of a car at 16. So like right when it happens, which I don't remember, my buddy said that I was getting out of the car. Did I do this? Did I do this? Was this my fault? But no, this one wasn't on your boy. We're good. And I was wearing paint clothes to come paint my new office that is still, hey, we got the door up on the hinges. But the office, the new office refurbishment has been delayed as well as I try to get back going here. But a lot of stuff has happened. I got sent to the Trauma Center Award in Memphis, where I became friends with Liz DeLucia, an attending, Chuck, Steven. We talked about Project Pat, my children. The guy to my right in the Trauma Center Ward had been walking in Frazier that night and was hit by a car. Another strapping lad showed up who'd been shot, and I'm here though. I have no Jeep anymore though. I miss my Jeep. It's a bummer, but I'm here. And
hey, shout out to the people at the Med, man.
But the Med is awesome. Seriously, the Med is awesome.
See, what those people do every day, God.
Well, because when the guy from Massachusetts to my right mentioned that he had gotten hurt walking in Frazier, the first thing that popped in my mind was 3 6 Mafia, and some lines from a Project Pat song, his iconic album, Missed It Don't Play, which led to the icebreaker of Missed It Don't Play is, without a doubt, one of, if not a top 5 hip hop album of all time, which is a great icebreaker I have learned in the Trauma Center Ward in Memphis, because my guy Chuck, not Chuck Ronzaville, this is Chuck, the attending in the Trauma Center Ward. We spent probably most of the night as I was recovering, because all you do is sit there. They're waiting to see if your brain bleed gets worse. And so me and Chuck, to buy the time, just spent so much time talking about Project Pat. He showed me his tattoo that had Memphis on his arm. He's like, this is my city, man. And Project Pata. Yeah, Project Pata. It was memorable. But I'm here. I'm good. And Bradley, the thing is I woke up, I came to out of a concussion and brain bleed to Bradley Sowell's a Mississippi State Bulldog now.
Crazy world. A lot of smells.
Yeah. Ole Miss basketball is back on the winning side of things.
Yeah.
Football,
big win. Lady hoops.
Life continued to happen, but I feel like I came to in the upside down, because like one of the first things I saw was Brad hey, man, I got some news for you, and he sends out that picture. Sends me that picture in the state gear.
With
assistant to the tight ends coach,
somebody outside the Med standing on an RV jamming Master of Puppets.
Yeah.
As you woke up.
Yeah. I appreciate all the. I want to say this sincerely. Like I saw my wife wouldn't let me have my phone because she's perfect in every way, and apparently, when you have a concussion, to protect Ben from himself, who is the most online person you probably know, she wouldn't let me have any screen time. Thank God she did. And I didn't like, but she read me because we didn't sleep all night that night in the med, and she read me everything that people said on Twitter, on our message board at the Ole Miss Spirit, omspirit.com, the foot of on three, texts, calls. I was overwhelmed. I really
Did she
was.
ask you? Did she ask you about the acronym that I sent? You don't have to say it on
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
air.
It's
Okay.
FEBU. It means freak everybody but us, but we don't mean freak. And she did ask. She had a lot of questions because I talk apparently in a very different language with all of my friends. And yeah, yeah, I'm thankful, man, because when I saw all that and read all that, it was just really sweet and uplifting. And um, I love my Spirit family. I've been with them since 2008, but I love my Ole Miss family too, man. I mean, it was everybody. It was
I
Chase
had a lot of
Parham.
people. I had a lot of people text me, DM me, ask how you were doing.
Yeah, it was a really cool thing,
How about
man. And
that?
it
There's
I just
hope.
really
There's hope
appreciate it.
for us yet, Ben. This world is not completely lost.
Well, no, I mean the community now at Ole Miss is us. It's all it's even the media people and the fans and stuff. I mean, we don't get to be out there making the plays. We don't get to be throwing the passes or dunking the balls. So like part of the experience is hanging out with us every day, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's unfortunately what the Ole Miss fan gets is hanging out with us. Um, but when that happened and Emily read me all that stuff in the med, man, I cried like a baby. I was like, "Oh my God, this is the sweetest shit ever for me, for stupid me." Thank you, I really appreciate it. I wanted to say that before we really got going here. But stuff has happened. Bradley Sowell is now the assistant tight ends coach. If it's been announced yet, I don't know. At Mississippi State, so I got to get a new co-host for the post game pod. I've had recommendations for 40. I'm going to call 40. Like maybe get C.J. Johnson, Bo Wallace. I mean, I have options here. Jarrell Poe. But I felt kind of bad for our boy Zach here. I guess they don't want you with me every single time, my friend. They want some former player action too in our
Well,
diversified talk of champions portfolio.
they probably just know that I'm a sicko and I'm gonna be too busy watching like Fordham
It's
and
true.
Towson or something.
It's true.
Um,
It's true.
but it's good. It's good to have you back, man.
But what
That was
about Bradley? I'm surprised you haven't said anything about this. I mean, this became like an Ole Miss online story, a very online story for a couple of days as I was in the ward, which
well,
I thought was great.
just a typical DeSoto County guy to go to Mississippi State, right? I mean, come on.
I'm so thrilled for him. I really am because, like, you know how hard it is to break into this line of business with no coaching experience. No, he's an NFL player, 8-year NFL vet. I mean, he's got a great
That's what I was
resume
gonna
for
say.
football. But when you're talking about breaking in, it's so hard in college sports to get in,
And
especially at the SEC level.
yeah, I was
So
gonna
it's
say
a
your first job
no-brainer.
is in the SEC. Like
Yeah,
that's
it's an
pretty
absolute
wild.
no-brainer. But like I told him last night, it's as if Ole Miss had to sacrifice him to get its title. He won't get to enjoy it. It's kind of beautifully tragic in that way. Like he's the biggest homer of Ole Miss homers,
So is
and
he? How does Levy feel about him working remote?
that's not going. I think he's living in Starkville. He's doing the whole thing, man.
Oh no.
Yeah, he's
I
he's
mean,
full on true
I was
maroon,
I was being facetious, but
but like he's full on true maroon,
yeah,
and that's what I told him. I said like the internal conflict. If Ole Miss
maroon
makes
is all that matters.
the internal
Ring
conflict
responsibly.
of our boy, if Ole Miss makes a title run next year.
This is the Godfather meme. Look what
Oh,
they've done to my look what they've done to
look what they've done to my boy.
look how they massacred my boy.
I massacred my boy. I mean,
Hey, good for him though. Yeah, I mean,
heck yeah.
crazy is your first job is in the
That's
SEC
that's
West
that's you
or
leap
yes,
at that
SEC.
opportunity. Yeah, you leap at that opportunity. You don't delay. You take it. It's just really hilarious. Like I told him, I said, two things can be true. I'm absolutely thrilled for you. This is an amazing opportunity. Yeah, it's state, but it's an amazing opportunity. It's breaking into coaching, which you've always wanted to do since you quit, or didn't quit, but
Yeah.
retired from the NFL. At the SEC level, you jump all over it. But also, I'm going to troll the absolute shit out of you the entire time. Like the kayfabe, it's just like wrestling. It's when Stone Cold shook hands with Vince McMahon at the end of WrestleMania. I mean, this is essentially the same thing. You know,
Tough
him and
scene,
Brian
man.
Haydad are on the same team now. Oh, the content potential.
We gotta get like him to wear like a body cam or like a GoPro when he first meets Steve Robertson.
Oh my God, that's a brilliant idea.
So we can get the behind the
Well,
scenes.
it was funny because he's like, man, we can maybe still do the post game show. And I'm like, dude, you're about to be a recruiting analyst and
No.
assistant tight ends coach. I said, your life is changing. You have no idea. I said, I can't wait till you're like questioning your life choices, wearing a Mississippi State Battle M logo, uh, in the bathroom at 3 a.m. on like 2 nights before National Signing Day, going, God, what am I doing? But hey, I think he'll crush it. I think he's going to be a great coach. It's just hilarious that it came at stake. We have to sacrifice Brad for Ole Miss to
Yeah.
get his title run next year. So it is. He's the prince that was
Fell on the
promised. He's the Jon
fell,
Snow. It's the most tragic thing. Go back, on the other side of the wall, John. You conquered the Night King and the Long Night, but now go back to you don't get to enjoy the spoils, the concubines. No, you got to go back to the other side of the wall. That's
fell
Brad.
on the sword.
Fell on the sword. Brad's falling on the
Hey,
sword for
speaking
you, Ole Miss
speaking
fans.
of speaking of Jon Snow, before we get into the show here, twofold here. Everybody out there that failed to tell me just how good Welcome to Wrexham is, I'm so mad at you because I started that 2 nights ago and I'm already almost done through the 2 seasons. It is
That's awesome.
incredible television.
Well, great. I
And
haven't watched any television really. I didn't
well,
watch any football on Sunday really. Apparently the Lions. I mean, I tuned in for a second because Emily
I
gave me
had
my.
I had to
Yeah.
turn it off. I couldn't watch them blow it.
But
I
Benito started for the Lions.
Yeah. So
I
wait, so
just
you didn't
wanted to
even get
mention
to
that.
wait, you did you even get to see Royal Rumble?
I watched a little bit. It bored me to tears. I saw where Bailey won and
It
Cody
was
repeated for the first time
it
in
was
26
it
years.
was pretty meh.
But I didn't. I really just want to see CM Punk wrestle, and then I saw him, and he's 40, and he's slow, and he's not seeing. And I was like, okay, I'm good. I don't want to waste my screen time, the limited screen time my militant, perfect wife is allowing
Yeah.
me on this crappy Royal Rumble. So I tried to focus on like some Ole Miss things, watching the basketball game on Saturday, a little bit of it, some football on Sunday. Benito,
Yeah.
like I said, Benito Jones, former Ole Miss defensive tackle, started for the Lions, jumped ahead 24-7. Unfortunately, lost that game and isn't going to the Super Bowl. That sucks. It really does.
Ah,
The 49ers don't roster any Rebels that I'm aware of. Obviously, the connection with Patrick Willis is, I mean, he's one of the
mhm.
greatest 49ers of all time, and they drafted DJ Jones back in the day as well. Now,
Shout out P Willie.
yeah,
A member of the Spirit. Give us a
yeah.
shout out on Twitter over the weekend.
Did he really? Was I
Yeah.
in the ward at the time? When did this happen? I don't even know what you're talking about.
I think it was like yesterday or 2 days ago. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I didn't see this. So Patrick Willis gave us a shout out. Let's go.
Yeah.
Get on that. Reach out to him. Say, hey, well, wouldn't you know it, P. Willie? You have been the number one most requested guest, that we haven't had on Talk of Champions yet to this point.
Okay.
So
All right.
if he's a fan, come drop by your boys and talk to us because I have
Might
so many questions.
I might try to be like, hey, you remember when we were at the Tri-Delt house at the pancake eating competition and you congratulated me after I won? Well, let's reconnect here and let's get on a
Reconnect.
podcast.
Or, hey, Patrick, I don't know if you remember this, but after y'all won the Egg Bowl your senior year and you were leaving, Stan Sandroni and I stood there to do the Ole Miss Radio Network interview of you. But I was too terrified and starstruck to ask any questions. Stan had to carry it like he did almost everything.
Stand the man.
Stan the man, God rest his soul. And so do you remember that ginger who just stood there like this at you? It's Patrick Willis, you know? No, he probably doesn't because a lot of people stare at Patrick Willis, I would assume, that way. This edition of the Flagship is brought to you by Riverland Roofing. Riverland Roofing for all of your roofing needs. Contact them. They're located in Clarksdale. Bill Landis and the guys, man, they'll take care of you. Great people, and they do so much work for us here at the Ole Miss Spirit, sponsoring us to Talk of Champions, to allow us to put these podcasts together. So Riverland Roofing, a proud sponsor of the Talk of Champions Podcast Network, College Corner, B&A Bank, Allen Samuels, Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram of Oxford, USA Benefits Group, OMAF, the Ole Miss Athletics Foundation, on and on. I just wanted to give a shout out to them as well. I heard from so many of them while I was under the not knife because I didn't have any surgery or anything, but as they were monitoring my brain bleed, I heard from a lot of these people too, and I want to just tell them thank you, and I appreciate them sponsoring this podcast. And yeah, it's glad to be back, man. And it's an
Yeah.
interesting time for Ole Miss sports because now the assistant coach staff change stuff has settled, but intriguing, Kelvin Bolden was not elevated to tight ends coach. Kelvin Bolden was not elevated to wide receivers coach. Lane Kiffin has made 2 hires, and we had heard at the Ole Miss Spirit not too long ago that Kelvin Bolden had a sitting offer to be a wide receivers coach at a pretty good school. Maybe this is something to watch now that he hasn't been promoted. I don't know.
It was you.
Football Scoop
It,
came out in January and said that he was being promoted to tight ends coach. I wrote a column about it saying, "Hey man, that sounds like the right move because there's been no better or no more important recruiter maybe than like Lane Kiffin and Pete Golding on this staff than Kelvin Bolden for the last couple of years. He's been just a dynamic recruiter for Ole Miss and just huge staff addition for Lane
yeah.
Kiffin. Now, what does this mean for him, if anything? Especially with Derek Nix now at Auburn as the offensive coordinator under his old pal Hugh Freeze and the assistant head coach.
Yeah.
What does this mean? I don't know. But interestingly enough, as I was under Ole Miss or Lane Kiffin filled out his staff. What do you think about the staff moves that he made?
Yeah. I'll say this: the spot that was potentially up for grabs for Kelvin Bolden, I believe it was UCF, and UCF has hired a wide receivers coach. Um, I will say this before we get into George McDonald and Joe Cox, as they are Joe's not even skipped a beat. He's just out recruiting right now. He's out in North Carolina. Back home, probably getting his things together before moving to Oxford. He's originally from Charlotte. He's going around extending some offers to some 2026 prospects. But before Joe and George get to Oxford, it would probably be smart for them to go over to College Corner over on Sisk Avenue, get some swag, get some Ole Miss gear. They weren't a part of the staff, but maybe they want to get some Peach Bowl gear. Big deal, 11 wins, never before. Celebrate that. But going over to College Corner over on Sisk Avenue, check them out. They've got Peach Bowl gear. They got Realtree gear. They've got Ole Miss stuff for hoops, baseball, football, everything and more. If you want to beat the rush, get some tailgating supplies. They got that too. They got gifts for kids, friends, family, everything at College Corner Store. They've got locations around Jackson as well. If you're not in Oxford, or if you are not local, no big deal. Go to collegecornerstore.com, check them out. Before you check out, use promo code SharkFest for 10% off. So before you hit complete purchase, checkout, whatever it may be, put in that promo code SharkFest for 10% off.
I just realized too, I was talking about Riverland Roofing and didn't mention the number to call or the website to visit. Forgive me. Your boy got hit by a car.
What's wrong with
walking,
you?
but not
You're out
while
of
walking.
sorts.
Well, not while walking in Fraser, like my friend that I made in the trauma center ward. 662-644-4297 to reach out to Riverland Roofing today for all of your roofing needs, an inspection, a new roof, maintenance program. Riverland Roofing can take care of you. 662-644-4297, riverlandroofing.com. That's riverlandroofing.com. But what did you think about Ole Miss's 2 hires to replace Derek Nix and also John David Baker? John David Baker has gone on to become the offensive coordinator at East Carolina, and Derek Nix, the offensive coordinator, at least in title, the offensive coordinator at Auburn under Freeze. What do you think about those moves?
He's not calling plays. Yeah, I mean, just phenomenal hires in my opinion. Look, if somebody works for Nick Saban, it's a good chance they know what the hell they're doing. Joe Cox, perfect example. Played at Georgia, quarterback
The problem
there.
with that is Nick Saban also employed Bill O'Brien. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, anyway. Yeah, he was a captain at Georgia. Good, solid quarterback there. After that, went back to his let's say his hometown, his home state. Coached at Mallard Creek High School, really good program up there in North Carolina. Back-to-back state championships. Then he went over to Colorado State when Mike Bobo took the job with the Rams. He was out there, drastically improved the offense at Colorado State, and then made his way over to Charlotte, where he was the on staff there, wide receivers coach for Will Muschamp at South Carolina in 2020. And then made his way to Alabama, where he was an excellent recruiter. Those of you probably recognize Caleb Odom, who's a big part of that recruitment. Amari Jefferson, a 4-star wide receiver in 2024. Ty Lockwood, a 4-star tight end. And then Caden Jones, a really good linebacker prospect, Under Armour All-American. And then he's also primary recruiter for Jamie French, a 2025 5-star wide receiver. I'd imagine Jamie and Joe have discussed getting to Oxford as soon as possible to check out Ole Miss. As those of you know, Lane Kiffin, pretty good at recruiting wide receivers and putting them on a stage to perform. So, yeah, I really like the Joe Cox hire. He's a young guy, but already cut his teeth. He's experienced in the SEC. He's been kind of all over the place, but recruits everywhere. I'm reaching out to folks at Bama Online and some other contacts I have in the industry to try to get some quotes, try to get some people's take on him as a coach, talent evaluator, all that. When I get that, you will get it as soon as I do. But yeah, I mean, I think it was a really good hire. John David Baker was instrumental in a lot of stuff with recruiting. He was kind of that face of the offensive staff with Kiffin when Kiffin arrived in Oxford. He was a big part of everything they did. So
Jackson Dart is here in no small part because of John David
Yeah.
Baker. I mean,
Yeah.
he was the initial in with Jackson Dart. He facilitated. Yeah, I mean, John David Baker was huge for Ole Miss. When you look at really what Lane Kiffin has done, though, with his staff, you could argue that he improved everywhere across the board if you really wanted to. At the very least, these are even swaps. There's not any fallback at all. The Kelvin Bolden situation is fascinating. You know, you want to reward someone like that for the work that he's done. And every coach, on or off the field, aspirationally, they want to have their own room. They want to eventually have their own side of the ball, maybe their own team. And, you know, that's coming for Kelvin as well. It's unfortunate that 2 golden opportunities for him opened up on staff and he didn't get promoted. But when you look at the hires themselves, you can't fault Lane Kiffin. And Lane Kiffin has proven time and again as a hirer, especially, it's almost impossible to question him. He's a really good staff hirer. He doesn't blink. He doesn't go, oh gosh, what will I do now that so-and-so has left? He doesn't have to call old buddies, old friends, because his reach is so small. Now, I think that's the one thing about the whole Brad situation I think is so fascinating. I can't wait to talk to Brad about this. It's like, I love the hire, actually, of Jeff Lebby for state. Do I think Jeff Lebby's going to win a lot of state? No, because I think it's a tough job. But I like Jeff Lebby as far as his upside and potential as a head coach. All right. Having said that, you know, the fact that he's having to fill out his off-field staff, you know, like when Nick Saban was hiring analysts, he's hiring former sitting head coaches in the NFL and college football. And Brad deserves an opportunity. He's going to kick ass and he's going to be a great coach. But the fact that he has to make this hire up for an off the field position to fill out his staff right now just shows his limited reach currently with where he is in his career, right? So he'll get better, he'll learn, meet more people. Brad will become a superstar, or whatever, and then he'll meet more. I mean, that's how it gets started. He's very green as well, is what I'm saying. Whereas Freeze, he's just stubborn to a fault. He hasn't changed his stripes at all. He is who he is. He hasn't adapted. He hasn't changed. He's the same old Freeze. So he has to beg.
He's just getting the band back together.
Yeah, he has to beg Derek to come back. He has to persuade, he has to promote Ken Austin to on the field. I mean, it's just getting the band back together. Whereas Lane Kiffin, he has a tremendous reach. One of the greatest reaches of any coach, I think, in his sport, as far as filling out a staff. I mean, Nick Saban was the GOAT, but he's gone now. Ryan Day's done a good job. Dabo Swinney's, of course, done a good job. You could pick a number of head coaches, but we're talking about the elite of the elite in the sport. And that's where Lane Kiffin is as a hirer. So while, unfortunately, Kelv doesn't get his promotion, and you could absolutely argue that it's warranted. That stinks. You just, it's hard to question Lane Kiffin, the hirer, at this point, because over 5 years at Ole Miss, the proof is in the pudding. I mean, they've been
Kelvin's
wildly
time
successful.
is coming.
You want to know?
I said Kelvin's time is coming.
Oh, 100%. That's what I'm saying. It's coming. It's just when you look at, while it's unfortunate for Kelvin right now for Ole Miss, from the Ole Miss side of it, the Ole Miss angle, which we have to cover from an eagle-eye view, right? From 10,000 feet, 30,000 feet, whatever it might be. These two hires were tremendous. I mean, Joe Cox. Joe Cox is only out of a job because Nick Saban retired. Joe Cox is now the tight ends coach at Ole Miss. Old days, if Ole Miss would have filled out its staff with the former tight ends coach and defensive coordinator at Alabama, you'd say, oh, the times they are changing. Well, the times they have changed in a number of ways, and Lane's really rolled with those times and those changes. And it really is representative in how he's hired. He's done a tremendous job of making hires. And Austin Thomas, unfortunately, he's left to go back to LSU, but he'll find somebody to be the new GM too. Maybe that's what Kelvin becomes. I don't know.
Could be.
There is no loss of staffer too big for Lane Kiffin. You know what I mean?
Which, by the way, real quick, shameless plug. Speaking of Austin Thomas, if you haven't listened to my conversation with Cody Belair, please do. He basically lays out. I know a bunch of people have been asking, like, what did Austin Thomas do exactly on staff? Cody lays it all out. He was a former personnel guy, so he knows. It's a great listen if you're interested in that sort of thing, of what a GM, director, player personnel guy does. He breaks it down.
And it's a good listen, man. It's #NotCommitted with Cody Belair on the Talk of Champions podcast network. Just simply search Talk of Champions wherever you get your podcasts. It could be iTunes, it could be Spotify, SoundCloud, wherever a podcast is located, wherever you can get one, you can find Talk of Champions and all these shows, including #NotCommitted with Zach and Cody Belair from the other day, where they did talk about this. And I'll be honest, I was kind of confused as to what Austin Thomas did, but I do know this: tremendous dude to work around. I mean, we didn't work directly with him all that much, but we got to know him okay, and he reached out to us, and he was a big supporter of what we were doing at the Ole Miss Spirit. He would make a point to, unprovoked, reach out and be like, hey guys, we love what y'all are doing, man. Thank you so much. We read your stuff, we listen to you, blah 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 blah. The world repays or rewards good people, man. I hope Austin that this move is exactly what he's looking for, and that he crushes it over there back home at LSU. But maybe that's something, that could open the door for Kelvin Bourne, or maybe that's just not going to happen for him here. I don't know, because these were two golden opportunities, like I said. But I am not in any way wanting anyone to think that I'm questioning Lane Kiffin for not doing so. I think what he's done here is exactly what Lane Kiffin has done for 5 years at Ole Miss, and that's going to make two really impressive hires on paper. And he is with people. One of you've been talking about Joe Cox for a month. You were the first one to report about it. You put it on the Ole Miss Spirit, but the wide receiver coach, that's one that only Chuck had reported on like the day before. I mean, Lane Kiffin, he's a different kind of hirer in terms of filling out his staff, especially when you consider guys like Freeze. And I mean, this is best of the best. This isn't, oh, he's really good at this, but if he can only improve this, he'll become this. Lane Kiffin, man, he's one of the best in the business, and these staff hires again prove that, because he crushed it again.
The College Corner is headed to Oxford. Stop by their new location in the Oxford Commons off Sisk Avenue. They'll have 4,000 square feet of Rebel gear ready for your trip to the Grove. On your next trip to Oxford, stop by the College Corner or our other great locations in Ridgeland and Flowood. Hats, shirts, polos, pullovers, sweats, t-shirts. College Corner has it all. And as always, you can visit us online at collegecornerstore.com. That's collegecornerstore.com. The College Corner, where your game day apparel meets.
Yeah, Chuck and I talked a couple weeks ago, heard George McDonald's name, We were trying to nail it down, independently confirm it, and verify that an interview was coming, and then Chuck got it a couple days after, confirmed it, and Ole Miss moved quickly, and for good reason, because George McDonald, a guy that's been around for 24 years in the industry, a well-respected guy, a tactician, and just a really good coach, a guy that started at Ball State as a grad assistant and has been in the ACC, Pac-12, Big Ten, the MAC. He's been in the NFL. Now he's in the SEC. Really excited to see what he does with Trey Harris, Jordan Watkins, Aiden Williams, Juice Wells, Caden Lee, that room, and what they're bringing in to an offense that should be one of the best in the country next season. But yeah, coached a ton of NFL guys. I was talking with our buddy Ethan McDowell, who works at the NC State site for On3. George McDonald was there when NC State had arguably its best run at wide receivers, when he was there with the Wolfpack. 6-year stint there. I mean, Kelvin Harmon, Jacoby Myers, both had over 1,000-yard seasons there. Really accomplished guy in terms of not only developing and recruiting talent, but getting, the most, like squeezing every ounce that he can get out of guys. I mean, this is a dude that, you want to look at, it kind of, at least made me feel old. But this is the guy that's been around long enough to where, when he was in the MAC at Central Michigan, I don't know, you probably would know who this is, but
wait, we're the same age. You stop acting like I'm the old guy. By the way, everybody in the trauma center ward and even in the New Albany hospital were like, wait a second, you're how old? Apparently I have a baby face. I'm like, guys, if you like took me apart like a tree, I'd have the rings that would tell you how old I am. You know what I mean? Like, don't be fooled by the baby face. The fat body should be the dead giveaway. The 60-year-old man's body that I'm old. But like, how old do you think I am that I would like? We're the same age.
Well, I was saying it in terms of like we are both old. Anyway,
all right.
Guy by the name of Greg Jennings.
Yeah, I remember Greg Jennings played wide receiver for your Western. God, what was the name of the freaking Western Michigan out of college? Yeah, the Broncos. Was that right?
Played for the Packers. Yeah,
played for the Pack.
Second Player of the Year, Bolitnikoff Award semifinalist, All-American. He coached him. And then shout out to my neighbor, Eric Decker, coached him at Minnesota. First team, all Big Ten guy. So he's coached some dudes now. Like this is a guy that's been around a long time. He was an OC at Syracuse briefly before getting back to a position coach position. Yeah, well respected. Most recently, probably his masterpiece is Isaiah Williams at Illinois. Recruited as a quarterback, convinced him to move to wide receiver. Was like, hey man, you got the skill set. Just let the big bear get his paws on you and let's get to work. All Big Ten first teamer. He was 13th in the country in receptions with 82, second in the Big Ten and 15th in the country in receiving yards. He had over 1,000. Just a remarkable transformation there for Isaiah Williams. He's declared for the NFL draft. He's probably going to get taken at some point. First couple days, really explosive wide receiver that is very prevalent in the NFL now in that slot. So yeah, I'm excited to see what he's going to do with this wide receiver room, because as you know, it's as talented as any in the country.
100%. I mean, Ole Miss has an argument to be considered the school that is wide receiver U outside of Ohio State. I grant you, Ohio State gets the crown, but Ole Miss, the proof is in what they've done and in putting receivers in the NFL, be it A.J. Brown or DK Metcalf, Dante Moncrief, Mike Wild. I mean, on and on and on. Shea Hodge. We could name the great players that came through that room. So this is obviously an important hire. But when I look at it, the staff now completed, best we know it, it's completed. They got a higher general manager, so not completely, but on the field at least, staff is completed. it's safe to say now, right? This is the best staff ever constructed at Ole Miss, football staff. And this, I don't think it's close. I mean, it's not. B. Brown is coming to share DC duties with Pete Golding.
Every time somebody brings up like, oh, Derek Nix is gone, like, what are they going to do in state? Like, Brian Brown. That's what they're going to do. Kelvin Bolden is still there. They're going to be fine.
Yeah. Well, that's why I bring up Kelvin not getting put on the field. And I'm glad you brought up that, like, the school we were talking about here, USF, that had offered him the wide receiver job, that it's been filled now. I'm not happy for that. I want him to be able to, to climb in his field. That's not what I mean. I mean more, it's just like, for Ole Miss's perspective, it's good because losing Derek, who was such a good in-state recruiter, that really hurts. And Kelvin, I would argue, outside of Pete and Lane, like I said earlier in the show, I mean, there's not been a more fundamentally significant, critical recruiter for Ole Miss football over the last couple of years than Kelvin Bolden. So to lose both Derek and then Kelvin in the same offseason, that might have hurt. Especially considering what they just got done in Mississippi. Not only did you get Cam Franklin, #1 player, but you got Cam Beavers, Narell White. I mean, the work they did in state this year alone, you just want to see them continue that momentum, because they're very selective in their high school players. They're not going to have big high school classes anymore. They signed a top 20 class to kind of act as the parachute, right, for their portal work. Those are just the reserves for the reinforcements. So if they were building it through Mississippi, it's already a small class to begin with, to lose your top 2 recruiters in the same offseason, that, I mean, I think it's obvious it was going to hurt in some way. It was going to have some tangible effect or impact on what they did. But if Kelvin's still here, and we think he is,
still 22 guys, so it's not like it's like super small class,
right? But then I started really thinking about it. It's like, okay, well, Brian Brown's here now. Pete Golding, he is the best in-state recruiter on staff, even with Derek Nix. He is. It's Pete Golding. I mean, his roots here in Mississippi are insane.
Yeah.
The reason why Brian Brown is coming to share duties with him as co-DC is because they crossed paths for 3 months at Delta State. Like, these are Mississippi guys, man. I ain't worried about that no more. And it just shows you, like, Lane's operating at a different level, man. There are levels to this, and
also
the way he thinks about it is different.
Lane Kiffin's out there recruiting on the road.
Yep, that's right.
He's been out in Mississippi the last couple of weeks, so
yeah.
So
I mean, these staff hires, man. You look at them now as it's kind of being finalized, and the finishing touches they're putting on. It's without a doubt the best staff ever, like top to bottom.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, everything is setting up for 2024. Can you just get done? Oh, speaking of, as I was underneath, finally the 2 offensive linemen from Washington pop, right?
Yeah. How about that?
Yeah. So what's left now? I mean, Logan Diggs might not play next year. He got hurt in LSU's bowl game. He's transferring in the running back. He might not play a lot. So, running back makes sense, but.
Yeah. So, and this might be, you might not know, or maybe we take it offline. Did he get, like, evaluated or like a second opinion? And this is a new prognosis, because when he committed and signed, I asked Ole Miss, and the expectation was, oh yeah, he'll be good by the time non-conference plays up. So is this like a new development with the?
See, I don't know, okay. But
I was told he would be ready by week 5 or 6.
Well, even when Logan Diggs committed, we all knew that there was a possibility that there is no set return date for him yet. It was always a moving target, was the return date for Logan Diggs. So even when we're saying there's a chance he can, well, of course there's a chance he can miss next year, but he also, like you said, there was some belief, he'll be back by SEC play. So it's less about whether or not they're going to, I think Logan Diggs is a part of Ole Miss football. He hasn't reported yet. He's one of 2 who haven't checked in for the spring semester. The other one is Daquan Wright, the tight end from Virginia Tech. All 15 other transfer additions have reported.
Before people freak out, it's fine.
And even if it's not, I don't want to go down that road. But yes, Daquan Wright will be here. Logan Diggs is interesting because of the injury situation. So when you look at what Ole Miss needs now, the offensive lineman popping, I mean, that fills out your last real pressing need. It's just best player available, right? And I would assume they're going to monitor the running back market all the way up to fall camp practices.
Running back and edge.
Yeah.
Because
BJ Green. Yeah, if he
BJ
flips
Green.
if he goes with Colorado instead of Ole Miss.
He's going to Colorado.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
he informed. Well, do you read the tidbits, Ben?
I got a Buick. Ran up my butt.
Yeah, he informed the Ole Miss staff yesterday that he was going a different direction. I have it on good authority that the Tyler Barron situation was just too much to overcome. Ole Miss obviously chose Tyler Barron over. I mean, BJ Green was arriving for the visit. Tyler Barron commits, and everything happens with Tyler Barron. So yeah, it sucks, but that's recruiting. It's portal recruiting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ole Miss will continue to evaluate. They'll look to the second spring window or spring whatever
wave window.
Yeah, I mean Alabama's window is still open for another week or so, and then Michigan's is open. So, yeah, it's they'll continue to look at the edge position and whether or not
Jaheim Otis yet though from Alabama. No Jaheim Otis.
God. Jaheim Otis is the new. I mean, I'm trying to think of like a
McKinley Jackson.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, yeah. Perfect.
Yeah, McKinley Jackson.
Yeah,
I think we're going after McKinley this year again. You know, McKinley spent 4 years at Texas A&M or whatever it is. Still there.
I think Ole Miss will probably look at running back even if Logan Diggs is ready week 4 or 5 or not.
I do too.
I just think Kevin Smith wants the depth. They like to rotate. They like to keep guys fresh in game. So that I don't think that's an indictment on Bentley or Riscano or Diggs.
But really, it's Bentley, Riscano, and Matt Jones. That's what it is.
My apologies.
But but what I'm saying is like, even if Logan Diggs was healthy right now, that's still you probably would need one more.
Yeah, they got 3 guys.
Yeah, you got 3 guys. You probably need at least 1 or 2 more.
Yeah.
But I cannot wait to see Ulysses Bentley off the leash, though. Cannot wait. In this offense with all the talent, like he doesn't have to be the focal point. He could just be the complement to all the other stars. Oh my God.
Yeah.
He's gonna pop like 2 really big touchdowns next year, like long runs, and you're like, where has this been? Oh yeah. Running backs can outrun people too. Sorry. Was that rude? Was that mean? I mean, I just don't understand the decision Quinshon made. I really don't. I'm not hating. Do your thing, man. Live your life. But he took a $300,000 shave to go share carries with Travion Henderson. And I understand that it was a mutual parting of ways. But I'm just trying to put my brain in the space of,
hey, I don't know
what Quinshon was doing. Sorry.
I don't know if anybody's made this connection here, but Quinshon went from one grove to another. Do you know Ohio State has a grove on campus?
I didn't.
Yeah.
I'll take Ole Miss's roster right now over Ohio State. I don't know. I'm going to get. Oh God.
I don't know.
Starting line. No, not roster. Starting lineup.
I was going to say Ohio State bringing back a crazy amount of dudes.
Yeah, not roster. Starting lineup. Like my starting 22 against your starting 22. I would say Ole Miss would win the game today.
Yeah, that'd be a fun. It's a fun semifinal matchup there.
Our boy JD Pickle over at On 3 has Ole Miss as his number 5 preseason top 5, and he's way too early top 25 for 2024. Andy Staples has Ole Miss in his transfer tier of his. He broke his top, national title contenders for next year into tiers, and Ole Miss is in there. I think Jesse Simonton from On 3 has Ole Miss number 7. Just saying, man.
I was gonna say anywhere top 6 or 7's fair.
Yeah. Would you rather have Walker? Who's their quarterback going to be? No.
No. Walker Howard or Julian Sayin.
I like Julian Sayin now, but I'd rather have Jackson Dart for 2024.
Yeah.
If I'm trying to win at the highest level, 2024.
I'm no talent evaluator, but
I'm not either. But
I don't see it with Julian Sayin.
You don't?
I think he's good. I don't know if he's like elite start as a true freshman, which that's hard to do. So that's not really a knock on him, but
I really hope Dylan Raiola can back up his hey guys, I'm here kind of announcement to Nebraska. It's like, guys, don't worry. The prince that was promised has arrived. Me, Dylan Raiola. These kids coming up now, Justin saying, I need one of you guys to ball out and become like a Peyton Manning because I don't know, man. Y'all talk a lot of shit. So let's see y'all come up, and actually one of y'all ball out. I'm waiting for one of those and become the next GOAT, Tom Brady GOAT. Oh, I'm sorry. Anyway, recruiting wise, before we get out of here, anything else people need to be paying attention to?
It's junior day this weekend. I'll have the list to you when I get it. I don't know how big the group will be, but they'll have some guys come in. We'll see when I get the list how big the names are, but yeah, they'll have a junior day. And then it's kind of a dead period here pretty soon. But got a series of top targets at each position we're rolling out at omspirit.com. You can read that. Put out quarterback last week, just put out running back today. So we'll continue to take a look in the coming weeks at different position groups and who Ole Miss's top targets are as of now. So that, it's always going to change, but yeah, that's pretty much it. I would say, yeah, the portal is winding down this window here. So yeah, if I have an update, anything you need to know, just stay locked in at the tidbits at omspirit.com. That'll be where you can find any and every recruiting update.
You could sign up for the Spirit today for just the low price of $1. $1.
Woo!
We talk about Ole Miss sports, football.
That's cheaper than a fillet of fish, Ben.
All day, every day at the Ole Miss Spirit, omspirit.com, and Food of On 3. And basketball back to its winning ways. Chris Beard and company off the bubble, maybe back in the top 25 after big wins, including their first true road win. And your boy's still kicking, So
yeah,
happy Monday. Happy Monday, right?
Big opportunity for Ole Miss hosting Auburn.
The only Ole Miss Rebel left in the NFL playoffs, Tavius Robinson and Laquan Treadwell practice squad for the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah. He still dresses out there, right?
I don't know.
I think he does. I've seen like some Instagrams where he's in pads.
I just butchered that. I just completely butchered that. There's nobody remaining in the NFL playoffs. The Super Bowl is the Chiefs and the 49ers.
Yeah, it's all right.
There's nobody remaining. Well, no, there's one iconic Ole Miss Rebel, Chris Jones. Oh, wait. Him and Freeze's friendship after it was just weird. Never mind. Yeah. Willie Gay wore Ole Miss gloves in Starkville High School, and everybody thought that, or threw up the land shark during his recruitment, and everybody thought, oh yeah, Willie Gay's
he committed to Ole Miss. Everybody forgets that.
He did. He threw up the land shark and still ended up at State.
So
what's going on with Deuce Knight, by the way?
That's not over. It's very much in play.
He's very actively talking about the SIP. He's a Notre Dame commitment, the quarterback, the in-state quarterback, 4-star for 2025.
Top 60, top 70 guy. Yeah, Ole Miss is in the mix. Notre Dame, he's committed, but Ole Miss will be involved until the end for sure.
So do you think it's either Notre Dame or Ole Miss for him at the end of all things?
Probably. I think Alabama will be involved because he does really like Kalen DeBoer. No, when I talked to him, he always mentioned Michael Penix, and he loves the offense. He's a lefty, so lefties got to stick together, I guess. So he was a big fan of what DeBoer did at Washington. So I think Alabama will be involved just because of that relationship. Grubb is at Alabama. Deuce Knight is always been complimentary of that staff and what the offense does, because he's big on fit. He's big on how will he fit in the offense, and I think he could see himself. I wouldn't say replicate what Penix did, 'cause it's pretty remarkable, but he thinks he could be successful in the offense. So,
yeah. We
Yeah,
should
I-
pick
I
our
probably-
dudes. We should pick our dudes for 2025. We always do this every year before the next cycle. Like, who's our dude for that class? For me, Jaheim Otis was my dude for the 2022 class. Who was our dudes?
Yeah.
Who was our dudes for this year? I can't even remember. But I know who my dude is for this year.
Pretty sure I said Aiden Williams on offense, and then I think I
Not
said
for this
Anthony
class.
Robinson.
For this class,
We haven't done this class, I don't think.
the one that it's just signed. We didn't do it.
I was talking about 2023
Oh, okay.
for Aiden Williams, and then I can't remember for
Yeah,
this.
Aiden Williams might have been my dude for 2023. Well, so anyway, for this
For
class, this current
2025.
class,
Okay.
yes, 2025. My dude is Caleb Cunningham.
Oh wow, pick the
I don't
5
care.
star.
I don't care. He's that good. Look, man, I don't know if you were really caring about Ole Miss recruiting back in the day, but I remember, was it D'Angelo Brown? What was his name? DeAnthony Brown from
Ocean Springs.
yeah, like the 5-star
DeAndre Brown. One of the worst leg
5-star
breaks I've ever seen.
Yeah. If Ole Miss is to be wide receiver U, they let him go to Southern Miss. Well, they didn't let him. They tried to get him, but he went to Southern Miss. If Ole Miss is truly wide receiver U, AJ Brown didn't play at Mississippi State from Starkville. He didn't play at Mississippi State. He played at Ole Miss.
DK Metcalf.
Yeah. Caleb Cunningham has to be an Ole Miss Rebel. Has to be. He's my guy for 2025.
That's without a shadow of a doubt is Mississippi State's we will overpay no matter what guy.
Yeah. Don't care.
Um,
Knowing all of these things, that kid, or just see him in a portal in a year from now.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'll say this, and maybe just recency bias because I just wrote about him. I'm going Shakai Mills Knight, running back from Baylor School in Chattanooga. Saw him live at the state championship game back in December.
Fell
Dude's
in
a
love,
monster. Hey, look, Kevin Smith offered him, like, turn the tape on, and literally, this is from his coach, like, said that he paused it and called him and offered him.
I was really hoping you'd say Deuce Knight for like symmetry purposes. So you're not buying like Deuce Knight is on the fringe of flipping.
No, not right now.
All right.
It could definitely happen. I'm not saying it won't. I'm just saying
I say by the time ink starts drying on NLIs, Deuce Knight will be an Ole Miss Rebel.
Toolsy, man. Saw him at the Elite 11. He ran a 4.5 and looked like he was jogging.
Yeah.
40 plus inch vertical, just crazy.
Quarterback competition of Walker Howard and
Austin Simmons.
Deuce Knight, Austin Simmons. I'm saying.
AJ Maddox. That's a fun room.
Saying. He's Zach Berry. I'm Ben Garrett. This has been another edition of the Flagship on the Talk of Champions Podcast Network. If you haven't already, subscribe, rate, review Talk of Champions in iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. Just simply search Talk of Champions. And when you do, leave a 5-star review. It doesn't matter what you say, as long as it's 5 stars. We both write for the Ole Miss Spirit, OleMissSpirit.com, an affiliate of On 3. And today you can sign up for a sub to the Ole Miss Spirit, OleMissSpirit.com for just $1. $1 to hang out with me and Zach and Chuck. Used to be Bradley Sowell, but Brad's now off to Mississippi State, that turncoat. Jake Thompson.
Saboteur.
We're all hanging out at the Ole Miss Spirit, OleMissSpirit.com to live on 3. So check us out. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate it. We'll do it again. And also, let me just say, this dude's calling me. Well, let's wrap it up. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate you. We'll do it again.
Hey, buddy.